The relentless sun dipped low over the jagged horizon of El Dorado Gulch, casting long shadows across the parched dirt streets like fingers grasping for lost souls. In this forgotten corner of the American West, where dreams of gold had turned to dust and desperation, Jack Harlan froze mid-stride outside the ramshackle saloon. A seasoned ranch hand with calloused hands and a weathered Stetson that had seen too many storms, Jack was no stranger to the cries of the wild, coyotes howling at the moon, the crack of gunfire in the night. But this sound was different. It pierced the evening hush like a dagger, soft, muffled whimpers drifting from the narrow alley behind the blacksmith's forge. They weren't the wails of a wounded animal, they carried the raw, human ache of suffering. Jack's boots halted in the dirt, his heart slamming against his ribs as memories flooded back unbidden, memories of his little sister, lost to the fever that swept their homestead years ago, her final breaths echoing in his mind like ghosts. He stood there, statue still, the world around him blurring into silence. The whimpers grew fainter, interspersed with choked sobs that tugged at something deep within him, a part he'd buried under layers of solitude and survival. Jack had come to El Dorado seeking work after his ranch back in Texas folded under drought and debt, a man running from his failures as much as chasing opportunity. Kindness wasn't currency in these parts, it was a luxury that could get you killed. Yet, as the cries persisted, he felt an invisible pull, a whisper from his past urging him forward. Swallowing hard, he edged toward the alley, his hand instinctively hovering near the revolver at his hip. What he found in the dim light shattered his resolve, a young woman, no older than 25, huddled against a barrel, her dress torn and muddied, bruises blooming like dark flowers across her pale skin. Her eyes, wide with terror, met his, and in that instant, Jack saw not just a stranger, but a mirror of every broken spirit the frontier had claimed. Who are you?" she whispered, her voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. Her name was Eliza, as he would soon learn, a widow who'd fled an abusive marriage back east, only to find herself trapped in El Dorado by a gang of outlaws who'd taken her in under false promises of protection. Now, discarded and beaten for refusing their demands, she whimpered not from physical pain alone, but from the crushing weight of hopelessness. Jack froze again, his mind racing. He'd seen this before, women like his mother, worn down by the harshness of pioneer life, their spirits extinguished long before their bodies gave out. But something stirred in him, a spark of selflessness he'd thought long extinguished. Kneeling slowly, he removed his hat, his voice emerging gentle and steady, cutting through the tension like a warm breeze. "Your pain ends tonight," he said softly, the word surprising even himself. It wasn't a threat or a boast, it was a promise, born from the depths of his own unresolved grief. Eliza recoiled at first, her body tensing as if expecting another blow. Trust was a rare commodity in the West, where alliances shifted with the sands. But Jack didn't press, he simply extended a hand, calloused from years of roping cattle and mending fences, and waited. Minutes stretched into eternity as she studied him, her whimpers fading into shallow breaths. An unexpected turn came when she finally spoke, her story tumbling out in fragments. She'd arrived in El Dorado months ago, lured by tales of opportunity, only to fall prey to Silas Blackwood, the notorious leader of the Blackwood gang. They'd promised her work as a seamstress, but it was a ruse. They wanted her for darker purposes, and when she resisted, they'd left her for dead in the alley. Jack's jaw tightened. Blackwood was a name whispered in fear across the territories, a man who'd rustled cattle from Jack's old ranch and left a trail of widows in his wake. Helping her meant crossing paths with death itself. As night fell, Jack guided Eliza to the outskirts of town, to an abandoned cabin he'd claimed as temporary shelter. He tended her wounds with what little he had, a strip of clean cloth from his saddlebag, water from his canteen, his actions deliberate and kind, devoid of expectation. In the flickering light of a kerosene lamp, she shared more, her dreams of starting anew, perhaps opening a small bakery like her grandmother's back in Ohio, baking pies that could bring a touch of home to this godforsaken land. Jack listened, his own walls cracking. He revealed his past in turn, the loss of his family to illness, the guilt of surviving when they didn't, the wandering life that had hardened him. It was a profound realization for both, In this vast, unforgiving wilderness, humanity's power lay not in guns or gold, but in the quiet acts of connection that bridged isolated souls. But the night brought an unexpected twist. As Eliza drifted into uneasy sleep, Jack stepped outside to stand watch, only to hear the distant thunder of hooves. Scouts from the Blackwood gang, perhaps alerted by a town informant, were circling the area. His heart raced. Helping her had thrust him into a conflict he hadn't sought. Hiding wasn't an option, the West demanded confrontation. Slipping back inside, he woke her gently. "We can't stay," he whispered. "They're coming." Eliza's eyes filled with fear, but also a glimmer of resolve. In that moment, Jack saw the strength beneath her fragility, a mirror to his own buried resilience. They fled under cover of darkness, mounting his horse and riding into the starry expanse, the whimpers of pain now replaced by the determined clip-clop of escape. The chase was on, testing the limits of kindness in a world that rewarded cruelty. The moon hung low like a silver lantern as Jack and Eliza pushed deeper into the Badlands, the rugged canyons of Eldorado Gulch swallowing them whole. Dust kicked up by their horses' hooves mingled with the scent of sagebrush, a reminder that freedom in the West was as fleeting as a mirage. Jack's mind whirled with doubt. Why had he intervened? He was no hero, just a drifter with a scarred heart. Yet, Eliza's presence beside him, her arms wrapped tightly around his waist as they rode, ignited a sense of purpose he'd long forgotten. She wasn't just a victim, she was a survivor, her whimpers from the alley now echoes of a resilience that inspired him. As dawn's first light painted the horizon in hues of gold and crimson, they found refuge in a hidden cave, its entrance concealed by boulders. There, in the cool dimness, Eliza turned to him with eyes brimming with gratitude. "Why me?" she asked. "You could have walked away." Jack paused, staring at the cave floor. "Because I've walked away too many times," he admitted. "And it cost me everything." Their respite was short-lived. By midday, the Blackwood gang's pursuit intensified, their shouts echoing through the canyons like vengeful spirits. Silas Blackwood himself led the charge, a hulking figure with a scarred face and a reputation for mercy as scarce as water in the desert. Jack knew the odds, 5 against 1, armed to the teeth. But an unexpected turn unfolded when Eliza revealed a secret she'd guarded fiercely. Tucked in her torn dress was a locket, not just a keepsake, but one containing a map to a hidden vein of gold, her late husband's discovery, the very reason the gang had targeted her. "They killed him for this," she confessed, her voice steady despite the tears. "I was going to use it to start over, but now, it's yours if it means our lives." Jack's eyes widened in profound realization, this wasn't mere chance, it was fate's way of offering redemption. The gold could buy his freedom, rebuild his ranch, but in her selfless offer, he saw the true power of humanity, the willingness to give when you have nothing left. As the gang closed in, the story built toward its emotional climax. Jack devised a plan, not of violence, but of cunning compassion. He rode out alone to confront them, leaving Eliza hidden with instructions to flee if he fell. Facing Blackwood under the blazing sun, dust swirling like a shroud, Jack didn't draw his gun first. Instead, he spoke of mercy, of the cycle of pain that had ensnared them all. "You've taken enough," he said, his voice echoing the gentleness from the alley. "Let her go, and this ends without more blood." Blackwood laughed, but Jack pressed on, revealing the map's existence, not as bait, but as an offering. "Take the gold. It's yours. But spare the innocent." It was an act of profound generosity, sacrificing potential wealth for a stranger's life, born from the kindness that had thawed his frozen heart. The standoff tensed, guns cocked, until an unforeseen moment shattered the impasse. One of Blackwood's men, a young recruit named Tommy, lowered his weapon. "Boss, he's right," Tommy muttered. "My sister's back home, this ain't worth it." The words rippled through the group, exposing cracks in their loyalty, reminders that even outlaws carried humanity's spark. Blackwood, sensing mutiny, hesitated. In that heartbeat, Jack's compassion ignited change, 2 more men defected, turning on their leader. A brief scuffle ensued, not a bloodbath, but a reckoning. Blackwood fled wounded, his gang dissolved, the map left behind as a symbol of release. Reunited with Eliza, Jack shared the gold's location, but she insisted they claim it together. They rode to a new town, where the vein funded not just her bakery, but a haven for the weary, a place where kindness flowed like fresh bread from the oven. Jack found peace, marrying Eliza in a simple ceremony under the vast western sky, their union a testament to selflessness healing wounds. The frontier, once a land of isolation, became a canvas for hope. In the end, their story whispered across saloons and campfires, in the harshest places, a single act of humanity can end pain and spark transformation. It leaves us inspired, reminding that even in silence, we can choose to listen, to act, and to believe that dawn always follows the darkest night.